terrorist can answer the charges against him. But James Mitchell didn't even get a chance to respond to the Senate intelligence report. Didn't call him, didn't get his side of the story. Isn't that sort of un-American?
As American to do that.
And the Senate committee doesn't reach out to him?
Well, again, you'd have to ask the Senate committee about whether they talked to him. I actually don't frankly know whether or not they did. If he says that they didn't, I'm not here to contradict him.
They didn't talk to anyone at the CIA. Okay.
He knows very well that they did not speak with James Mitchell. They didn't speak with anybody from the CIA. That was, of course, our chief White House correspondent, Henry Today, following up on our exclusive with James Mitchell on the Democrat CIA interrogation report that you've heard about tonight and last night. Last night, Mitchell asked why the mastermind of 9/11 was allowed to tell his side of the story in custody and in court when the Senate Democrats who wrote this report never once reached out to Mitchell for his side before condemning him. Joining us now, American Enterprise Institute fellow and author of Courting Disaster, How the CIA Kept America Safe and How Barack Obama is Inviting the Next Attack, Mark Thiessen. Mark, great to see you here in person.
Great to see you, Megyn.
So one of the things that Mitchell told me, first of all, Josh Earnest knows very well they didn't speak with him.
Of course.
Of course. So it's been widely publicized.
They didn't talk to anybody. They didn't talk to Jose Rodriguez. They didn't talk to Mike Hayden. They didn't talk to George Tenet. We've spent all this time criticizing Rolling Stone over the last few weeks for not talking to the people you're accusing and not getting their side of the story. Dianne Feinstein did the same thing as Rolling Stone.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this, because one of the things that Mitchell said to me was that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed turned to him during the interrogation, and he said, at some point, the American people will turn on you. He said the liberal media, this is a quote from KSM, according to Mitchell, the liberal media will turn on you, and the people will turn on you, and when they do, you will be left all alone.
Well, the good thing is the people haven't on him, and the people haven't turned on the CIA. The polls today show that Dianne Feinstein has utterly failed in her objective with this report. Her goal was to convince the American people that these interrogation tactics were wrong, that they didn't work, and they should never be used again. And the polls actually show that the vast majority of Americans side with the CIA. They think the tactics worked. They think that she should not have released her report, and 77% would do it again.
Isn't that extraordinary when you consider that the CIA was not consulted in the drafting of this report? No Republican participated in the drafting of this report, so it was completely one-sided, and yet still the American people are against her.
They're absolutely, because the American people have a good inner gyroscope. They understand what happened on September 11th. They understand that people like James Mitchell, when he was sitting with face-to-face with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the other thing Khalid Sheikh Mohammed said to him and to the other interrogators is, he asked him, what other attacks are coming? And he said, soon you will know. And Americans are weak and decadent and don't have the will to do what's necessary to stop us. Now imagine if he had not done everything within the law to get that guy to talk, and another 9/11 happened, and then he went into that room again with KSM and he said, I knew that and I withheld it from you. How could he live with himself? How could we as a country live with ourselves if we allowed that to happen?
You know what the answer is on the other side, that this is a moral principle for the country, and that this is torture, this is torture. Waterboarding is torture.
No, it's not. For one thing, we've waterboarded tens of thousands of American servicemen, and it would be against the law to torture our own troops. Second of all, here's a waterboarding fun fact for you, Megyn. There are more journalists who have had themselves waterboarded than there are terrorists who have been waterboarded by the U.S. government. Now,
that's true. Our own Steve Harrigan went through it.
That's right. There's a legal definition of torture, and then there's a common sense definition of torture. Common sense definition is if you're willing to try it to see what it feels like, it's not torture. I don't see any of those journalists having themselves burned with hot irons or being electrocuted or having their teeth drilled without Novocaine.
But isn't that the distinction between a journalist and a U.S. military person? That it's an experiment that will end when they say I want it to end, and someone like KSM. Although I will say for the record, Dr. Mitchell said that KSM also knew how long they were going to do it and that it was going to end.
That's not what broke him, actually. It was sleep deprivation that broke him in the end. But again, if an American serviceman was going through and having his legs burned with hot cigarettes or being electrocuted or some of these other tactics, it wouldn't matter whether they knew the experiment was going to end. Those things cause severe physical, mental pain and suffering.
What about Senator Feinstein's argument that these interrogations produced nothing useful?
You know, here's a good test for Senator Feinstein. Here's my challenge to Senator Feinstein. If that is true, then pass legislation ordering the CIA to destroy all the intelligence. There are thousands of interrogation reports that have been produced that we are using to this very day. Barack Obama is using intelligence from CIA interrogations. Just 2 weeks ago, Al-Qaeda's operational commander, a guy named Adnan Shukr Juma, was killed in Pakistan. You know how we found out who he was? The interrogation of Abu Zubaydah and KSM. They identified him. We didn't even know that he existed or who he was. So Barack Obama is using this intelligence. If this produced nothing, go ahead and destroy all the intelligence. They'll never do it.
That's an interesting test. Mark, good to see you.
Thanks, Megan.